I'm quite sure there's many people knowing here this has been a really hard decision for me to make. Sorry, everybody, for taking this long to make it, but we're getting there. Medevac isn't a national security threat, but there are real problems with the way it's operating. There are problems that sit at the centre of its operation. They cannot be amended away. The Labor Party and the Greens might think everything is A-OK, but I'm not comfortable with it, and I'll tell you. They know as well as anybody else that this isn't right. To those who say that doctors should make the final call on matters like this, doctors don't make our health policy. The final decision-maker for health policy is the Minister for Health. You can take advice from doctors, but doctors aren't elected. They aren't accountable to the public. They can't be voted in or out. The Minister for Finance isn't an economist. The Minister for Veteran Affairs isn't a veteran. The Minister for Education isn't a teacher. We have a system here where we let experts give advice, but we do not let them make the final decision on matters of this nature. Medevac lets the doctors make the call, and the minister has an incredibly limited ability to overrule it. If you care about the government being accountable to the people, that should bother you. It bothers me. But it doesn't bother me enough to let people die. So I'm faced with the question of what to do. Do I repeal the legislation or let it sit there? Not as perfect as the activists would have you believe, but not as terrible as the media loudmouths would have you believe either. The usual suspects in the newspapers can make a big song and dance about someone coming because they've got a cold or whatever it is they're talking about. I've got to be honest, my rule throughout this whole process has been that if it's on the front page of the newspaper and it's anything to do with Medevac, it's probably not worth reading. But they dial up the outrage that a person is coming for a medical treatment because they've got a cold or a bee sting or a kidney stone. Well, before Medevac, someone presented to a nurse with a flu, and 13 days later he was dead. And the Queensland coroner found that death was completely preventable if we'd have done something more to help. So I did not accept we could just go back to the way things used to be, and I asked myself how we'd have to do things differently. I put up to the government a proposal to work with me on, to secure my support for the passage of the repeal of Medevac. I'm not being coy or silly when I say I generally can't say what I proposed. I know that's frustrating to people, and I get that. I don't like holding things back like this, but when I say I can't discuss it publicly due to national security concerns, I am being 100% honest to you. My hand is on my heart, and I can stand here and say that I would be putting at risk Australia's national security and national interest if I said anything else about this. Every journalist asked me to discuss it anyway, because they assume that everybody who refers to national security as a reason to keep something secret is a lying, cynical bum, and they're probably right most of the time. I understand that instinct. So I've put to the government a proposal, and since then we have worked together really hard to advance that proposal. We've worked to an outcome I believe we both want, which is an outcome that our borders are secure, the boats have stopped, and sick people aren't dying waiting for treatment. And as a result of that work, I'm more than satisfied that the conditions are now in place to allow Medevac to be repealed.
It's fine for you.
I am voting for the repeal of Medevac because I am satisfied that the conditions that led to Medevac being passed aren't the same as the conditions today. The world in which this vote takes place is different, and I thank the government for working productively with me to make sure of that. I get that this vote will disappoint many, and I apologise for that. This is a matter of conscience. I can't let the boats start back up, and I can't let refugees die, whether it's sinking into the ocean or waiting for a doctor. And I am voting to make sure that neither of these things happen.